Have you ever noticed that sometimes the things you're fighting against the hardest aren't even real? You feel the weight, you feel the pressure, you feel the pain. But when you step back and examine it, you realize the struggle itself is an illusion. That doesn't mean you're not going through something. It doesn't mean the bills aren't due. It doesn't mean your body isn't tired. It doesn't mean your heart isn't heavy. But the part of you that keeps saying this is too much, this is impossible, I can't make it, that's the lie. You think the struggle is real because you feel it in your bones. You hear it in your thoughts, and you carry it in your emotions. But the truth is, the struggle is nothing more than the story you've been rehearsing in your mind. See, what's real is not the pain. It's the meaning you've given to the pain. Two people can walk through the same storm, and one calls it suffering, while the other calls it preparation. It's not the storm that makes the difference. It's the perspective. The struggle is not real. It's the illusion that convinces you that what you're facing is bigger than who you are. But when you remember who you are, when you remember what God placed inside of you, you realize the struggle never had power over you. It only had the power you agreed to give it. Every time you feel that pushback, every time you feel that weight pressing against you, it's not there to destroy you. It's there to develop you. Resistance is the gym membership of your destiny. Just like a muscle only grows when it pushes against resistance. Your spirit, your faith, your discipline, they only grow when life gives you something to press against. If it were easy, you'd stay the same. If there were no resistance, you'd have no reason to stretch. So when you feel the pressure, stop asking why me, and start saying thank you because this is making me stronger. The resistance is not a curse. It's the evidence that you're being prepared for a greater level than the one you're on right now. You've got to stop confusing what you're going through with who you are. Your struggle is an event, not your identity. Just because you're walking through fire doesn't mean you are the fire. Just because you're carrying debt doesn't mean you are broke. Just because you're facing rejection doesn't mean you are unworthy. Those are conditions, not conclusions. The mistake most people make is they wear their struggle like a name tag. Hi, my name is failure. Hi, my name is stress. Hi, my name is not enough. No, that's not who you are. You are who God designed you to be. Capable, chosen, powerful. The struggle may be in your hands, but it is not in your DNA. That pressure you feel right now, that weight sitting on your shoulders, it's not punishment, it's proof. Proof that there's something inside you worth pressing on. Diamonds don't come from comfort, they come from pressure. Gold doesn't shine in its raw state. It has to be refined in the fire. And just like that, the heaviness you feel is not there to break you. It's there to reveal you. If there was nothing valuable in you, there would be no reason for the pressure. The fact that life is pressing you is the confirmation that you're carrying something too great to stay hidden. That weight you're feeling is not evidence of weakness. It's evidence of worth. The way you label what you're going through determines how long you stay stuck in it. If you call it a struggle, your mind treats it like a wall. But if you call it evidence, your mind treats it like a doorway. The words you use frame the reality you live in. Stop saying, I'm struggling, because every time you say it, you reinforce the lie that you're losing. Start saying, this is my evidence that I'm being stretched, evidence that I'm being shaped, evidence that I'm being strengthened. When you reframe the narrative, what once looked like a burden suddenly looks like a blessing. The situation doesn't change first. The story you tell about it does. And when the story shifts, the outcome follows. Every person you admire, every success story you celebrate, every giant you look up to, They all walked through the same valley you're in right now. Don't fool yourself into thinking you're the only one. Champions aren't born on the podium. They're built in the dark when nobody is clapping, when nobody is watching, when it feels like quitting would be easier than continuing. They faced rejection, they faced setbacks, they faced nights where the dream looked dead. But instead of letting the struggle define them, they let it refine them. The only difference between them and the person who gave up is perspective. They didn't call it the end, they called it the process. And that decision to see the struggle as preparation instead of defeat is what made them great. You've got to recognize something powerful. The thing you're going through right now is temporary, but the thing you were made for is eternal. Struggle is like a passing storm. It comes, it shakes, it rattles, it pours, but it does not stay. Purpose is like the mountain underneath the storm. It doesn't move, it doesn't flinch, it doesn't disappear when the clouds roll in. Struggle is seasonal, purpose is permanent, struggle is a visitor, purpose is the owner, struggle is the shadow, purpose is the light. The mistake so many people make is they confuse the season with the story. They think because they're in the middle of a storm, that storm is their whole life. No, your storm is just one chapter, your struggle is just one scene, it's not the whole book. If you quit in the middle of the chapter, you'll never discover how the story was meant to unfold. Don't give permanence to something God only allowed to be temporary. Think about it. A baby struggles to walk. That baby falls, that baby wobbles, that baby hits the ground again and again. But you've never seen a grown person crawling around on their hands and knees saying, "I guess walking wasn't for me." Why? Because the struggle of learning to walk was temporary, but the purpose of walking was permanent. You may be stumbling right now, you may be falling right now, but that's not your final position. It's just your training ground. The danger is when you allow the struggle to rename you. When you start saying, "I am my pain, I am my failure, I am my disappointment." No, don't tattoo temporary struggle onto your permanent identity. Pain is something you pass through. Purpose is something you live out. Struggle is the tunnel. Purpose is the destination on the other side. Do you know what makes the oak tree powerful? It doesn't measure its identity by the storm it's in. It knows the storm will come and go. It bends, it sways, it loses a few branches, but it stays rooted. Why? Because its roots go deeper than the weather. And your roots, your purpose, your God-given assignment, run deeper than any struggle you're facing. The truth is, struggle is often the very thing that reveals purpose. Joseph had to be thrown in a pit before he sat in a palace. David had to face Goliath before he wore the crown. Esther had to risk her life before she saved her people. The pattern is clear. Purpose is permanent, but it's often unlocked through temporary struggle. If you confuse the process with the promise, you'll forfeit the very destiny that was designed for you. When you zoom out, you realize that struggle is nothing more than a season of preparation. You're not meant to pitch your tent in the desert. You're meant to pass through it. And the moment you start seeing it that way, everything changes. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you start asking, "What is this preparing me for?" Because preparation is always temporary, but the thing you're being prepared for is always permanent. Some of you are crying over doors that closed, when those doors were only meant to be temporary. That job was temporary. That relationship was temporary. That setback was temporary. But your calling is permanent. Your assignment is permanent. The treasure God placed in you before the foundation of the world is permanent. Don't let what was never meant to last convince you that your future isn't secure. See, the enemy wants you to believe that your struggle will outlive you. He wants you to believe that the storm will last forever. He wants you to think that because you've been stuck for years, this is your forever. But forever is not defined by your pain. Forever is defined by your purpose. You have to decide, will you live in the timeline of your struggle, or will you live in the timeline of your purpose? The truth is, struggle runs on a clock, but purpose runs on eternity. Struggle has an expiration date, but purpose has no end date. Struggle is a detour, but purpose is the destination. Struggle is loud, but purpose is louder if you listen long enough. And here's the part most people miss. When you cling to purpose in the middle of struggle, the struggle loses its power. It stops defining you and it starts refining you. Think of the butterfly in the cocoon. The cocoon is struggle. The wings are purpose. If the butterfly judged itself by the cocoon, it would say, I'm trapped, I'm stuck, I can't move. But if it understands the process, it says, this is only temporary. I was born for flight. That's you. Don't die in your cocoon thinking the cocoon is your life. The cocoon is not permanent. It's only a setup for the permanent assignment of your wings. And let me remind you, even pain has a purpose. Even struggle has a shelf life. Even loss has a lesson. But the destiny written on your soul before you took your first breath that will never expire. You can run from it, you can delay it, you can resist it, but you cannot erase it. Purpose is eternal. Struggle is not. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, tell yourself, this is temporary. This is not who I am. This is not forever. This is just the road I must walk to reach what will last forever. The enemy can't trap you if you refuse to give permanence to something that was only passing through. And when you shift your perspective like that, you stop magnifying the struggle and start magnifying the purpose. You stop asking, how long will this last? And start declaring, as long as it takes, because what's coming out of this is bigger than the pain of going through it. That's when you become unstoppable. Because when a person realizes their purpose is permanent, they stop negotiating with struggle. They stop bowing to fear. They stop quitting halfway. They walk with a confidence that says, this might be my season of tears, but joy is permanent. This might be my season of stretching, but growth is permanent. This might be my season of resistance. But destiny is permanent, so don't you dare give up, don't you dare give in. Struggle is temporary, but the greatness God placed inside you, that's forever. Whatever you magnify becomes the lens through which you see your entire life. If you put all your focus on the struggle will grow so big in your mind, it will block out the very purpose you were created for. But if you magnify the strength being built inside of you, the strength will rise up and shrink the struggle down to its true size. It's not that the struggle disappears, it's that your perspective makes it small. A magnifying glass doesn't change the object, it changes your focus. And whatever you choose to magnify, that's what becomes dominant in your experience. If you keep magnifying the bills, the sickness, the rejection, then you'll convince yourself those things are bigger than you. But the moment you start magnifying the lessons, the resilience, the faith being forged in the fire, suddenly you see that the thing you called a giant is nothing more than a stepping stone. Stop giving the struggle more attention than it deserves. Stop feeding the thing that's trying to drain you. Instead, magnify the strength, magnify the progress, magnify the evidence that you're moving forward. Because the more you focus on what's being built inside of you, the less power the struggle has to hold you back. You've been telling yourself you're failing because it feels uncomfortable, but what you're really doing is stretching. Failure is final, but stretching is progress. When a seed breaks through the soil, it looks like it's being torn apart, but it's not dying, it's expanding. When a muscle burns under the weight, it's not breaking down, it's building up. And when your life feels like it's pulling you past your limits, it's not punishment, it's proof that you're outgrowing who you used to be. Don't confuse the pain of stretching with the pain of failing. One ends your story, the other starts a new chapter. Stretching hurts because you're leaving comfort behind. Stretching hurts because you're reaching into places you've never touched before. But stretching is the only way capacity is increased. If you never stretch, you stay small. If you never stretch, you stay stuck. If you never stretch, you never see what was always possible for you. So instead of saying, "I'm struggling, I must be losing," start saying, "I'm stretching, I must be leveling up." Because the discomfort you feel right now is not evidence of defeat. It's the announcement that your old container can't hold the size of your future. Victory is more real than struggle, because victory is the promise while struggle is just the process. Struggle shows up loud and dramatic. It screams in your face. It tells you this is the end, but victory whispers with certainty, "I was here before the struggle started." The win is already written. You're just walking it out. That's why you can't let what you see today convince you that you've lost. The scoreboard of heaven already shows your name in the winner's column. Struggle is temporary noise, but victory is the eternal truth. And if you'll hold on, if you'll keep moving, if you'll keep pressing, you'll realize the fight you thought was trying to kill you was only positioning you to claim the victory that was yours all along. The moment you decide that victory is the reality and struggle is just the shadow, you stop walking like a victim and start living like a victor. Because at the end of the day, the struggle doesn't define the outcome. The outcome defines the struggle, and the outcome has already been declared. You win. So here's the truth. You were never created to bow to struggle. You were created to rise above it. Every tear, every setback, every weight you've carried has only been a tool shaping you for the next level of your destiny. The struggle is not real, but the victory is. The pain is passing, but the purpose is permanent. The resistance you feel is not the signal to quit. It's the evidence that greatness is pressing to come out of you. And the moment you stop magnifying the lie of struggle and start magnifying the truth of your strength, your story shifts. You don't just survive, you soar. You don't just endure, you overcome. And when people look at you, they won't see someone crushed by struggle. They'll see someone crowned by victory.